Welcome to Finance Feeds podcasts. Finance Feeds is the world's premier interactive Forex industry news source, providing the latest insights and current affairs from within the online trading industry worldwide. Enjoy our latest podcast episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Finance Feeds podcasts. This is episode 18. My name is Nikolai Isayev. I'm editor in chief of Finance Feeds. Joining me today is Michal Karczewski, who is co-founder of Match Prime Liquidity and CEO of Match Trade Technologies. Michal, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming to our podcast.
Hi, Nikolai. Thank you for inviting me. To be honest, I listened to all previous episodes, and I'm glad I can be here.
Well, we're glad to have you on as a guest. Thanks. Michal, we often meet at different expos, right, in our industry. And I always see you circulating between several booths, talking to customers of different brands. Can we take a step back for our audience and explain what each company within your group provides and how the services complement each other?
Yeah, of course. So basically, the company has 10 years. It's 10 years anniversary. So all these years, the strategy changed a bit within a company. So maybe let's step back to the beginnings of the company because it will help to better understand how we developed, why we have three brands, and why we exhibit with all those three. So we started 10 years ago with idea that we will build a matching engine which will be used by brokers, forex brokers. So we wanted to copy a bit the LMAX model with running a brokerage. However, when we started selling matching engine, it didn't work well. So we had to a bit adjust our strategy. So then we bought an MT4 server and started offering MT4 white labels, and this part started working well for us, so we decided to develop the client office, the bridge, so complementary services to the MT4 white labels. Later on, we decided to add an MT5 server as the demand was growing for MT5 as MetaQuotes started to promote it more heavily. And 2019, when the crypto boom, everyone wanted to have a cryptocurrency exchange, and we had a matching engine. So we decided that this is a good idea to start building a cryptocurrency exchange and sell it as a white label model. However, at that time it was a bad decision from our point of view, as we sold few licenses, but surviving on a cryptocurrency market where the which is commission-based business, not like in FX where you can book the flow and the revenues is much higher.
Mhm.
No, none of the exchanges survived, so we lost 1 year of the development of the crypto exchange platform. But let's say out of this platform, we had a match to pay. So we had a tool which allowed these cryptocurrency exchanges to accept cryptocurrencies as a deposit. So we still have match to pay as a crypto payment gateway, which is currently used by forex brokers. And later on, we were thinking how to upsell current white labels, as we had a lot of them. So we decided that this is the time to maybe start building a web trader, as we had an institutional platform which we offered to LPs, but the front end was not very sophisticated, and it was a more institutional one than the retail one. So we decided to develop a retail platform, the retail web trader, which firstly we wanted to connect to MT4, MT5 as a web trader.
Mhm.
However, as MetaQuotes has its own web trader, they didn't like the idea, and they suggested us not to do it. So uh, we decided, okay, so we have the backend, we have the institutional platform, we have the front end. So let's adjust the backend side on the institutional platform to the retail mode. And this is how Match Trader, the new platform, appeared, and we started selling it in the beginning to smaller brokers, white labels.
Mhm.
And recently, as the platform proved itself, we started selling it as a server license to the bigger brokers, and we had a quite good timing, especially because before we started selling a server license before the problems of MetaQuotes with the Apple, so it was, let's say, a bit of luck on our side.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, we got also the CySEC license, because all of the brokers should have a liquidity provider connected to hedge the risk. So we decided, okay, so this is also a good idea to get a license, a proper license from CySEC, and offer the liquidity to the brokers. And this is more or less how we prepared our offer. It's complementary, as all the tools can be used by the forex brokers.
Hmm. That's great. And I also I wanted to say congratulations. I saw that I think you just had your 10-year anniversary, right? For the again for the group of companies, because it's been quite a few years that you've been in business, as you said.
Yeah, to be honest, I joined the company in 2017, as it was founded by let's say, my business partners. But yes, it was a very hard 6 years since I joined. The company changed a lot, and now, regarding the numbers of the employees, the clients, and the revenues, it's changed significantly.
Hmm. And Michal, I wanted to ask. So I've seen the numbers from your company's yearly wrap up, and they looked very impressive. And you just also mentioned that you guys were sort of the leaders in the sense that you released some of these products and services and solutions before the issues with MetaQuotes came about. I'm wondering, is that one of the reasons why you're growing so fast today?
Uh, Yes and no. So thank you for noticing the growth of the company. We are trying, to do our best. And uh, to be honest, I remember when in 2017, when I joined the company, I attended the first Cyprus Expo, and we couldn't afford even a booth there. So I was walking around, asking the question how the business works, because I came from retail side.
Hmm.
I was dealer in XTB, and half of our company, as it is based mostly in Poland, is coming from comes from XTB, as this is the best Polish forex school, I would say.
Hmm.
So I remember in 2017, when I was on Expo, I was asking everyone about crypto liquidity. Everyone was looking at me weird way. But next year in 2018, everyone had crypto liquidity in their booth. So uh, yes and no. We foresee some changes in the industry, and we are able to predict some moves quite correctly. That's why we are growing so fast, I believe. So, for example, the move with our own platform, I believe, is was this kind of move. And when in 2017 I was walking around the expo, I saw that the market is saturated, and all the brokers exist. They have all the solutions, and to be honest, they don't really need us. But however, we found out our way and sneaked with our offer in to the market. We have a lot of our employees comes from the retail side, so we understand the needs of the broker, and we are quite flexible regarding our offer.
Hmm.
Additionally, for a very very long time, we were, I would say, cost effective. We were not charging a lot the brokers, and the service we delivered was on a good level. So I think this is the secret of our growth. However, we are now changing a bit the strategy by increasing a bit prices, and focusing on more wealthier clients, with bigger brokers, more reputable brokers. Some of them regulated, yes, some of them offshore ones. So this is, let's say, our current strategy. Also, we have quite good, probably you notice, quite good marketing team, who is preparing all these materials, all these videos, all this content,
Hmm.
which brings the traffic to our website, brings the clients who are really interested in opening a brokerage. So this is also a second, let's say, reason why we are growing so fast.
Hmm.
And to be honest, after so many years, we have a lot of partners who really like what we have in our offer, and they bring us new clients as they know that the service is good. So half, let's say, of the traffic, half of the new clients are coming from the marketing sources, and second half is coming from the partners and the companies we cooperate with.
Hmm.
And to be honest, the last 2 3 years. Market is very volatile due to COVID and the war,
Yep.
and this happened that the brokerages are uh, you know have have really big volumes, very big profits, and everyone is interested in opening their own brokerage. So this is also something which helped us a lot in growing so fast.
Hmm.
But no matter the fact that we are growing so fast, we are still looking for new ideas, new paths how to grow a company. For example, recently we were in the IC London, the gambling expo,
Hmm.
which I really recommend to everyone to see, let's say, a different approach of doing business, because they have very similar B2B business with the white labels, with the turnkey solutions, where they have licenses. Of course, we have licenses. Mauritius, Seychelles, they have Curacao, Gibraltar. There's different one, but it works very it's the industry is very similar to ours. However, there are some significant differences, like how the providers cooperate with the casinos and the sports books.
Hmm.
Because, for example, in our industry, what we charge usually the clients is, it's either turnover fee, or we charge per accounts, like MetaQuotes or us are doing. But all the gambling industry is working in a revenue share model. Yes, so this is something which I really like there, because it's a common goal for both of them.
Hmm.
And such provider has much more resources to invest in the systems. And I was impressed that no one in the market, in the gambling industry, is trying to dump the prices and offer something cheaper. And in our industry, it happened a long time ago, and providers are charging much less per, let's say, million on gambling.
Hmm.
I think it was because MetaQuotes, when MetaQuotes started selling a server, you could buy a server for 100K as a license fee, but later on it costed only 2,000 a month. Yes,
Sure.
so it was very cheap to get into the market, and you didn't have to pay so much like in gambling. So this is what I like, to be honest, in the gambling. And also very interesting way in gambling industry, which is not in our industry, and I see it's something really interesting, is sub licensing. So for example, you can imagine that in our industry, when Matchtrade would sub-license the white label. So we will monitor all the clients, all the white labels which are under us.
Hmm.
So our compliance would be checking them. So we will guarantee, let's say, the kind of a quality of such white labels. This is something which is not working in our industry,
Hmm.
and this is how, let's say, they monitor and provide the quality to the players. Yes, that the white label is monitored by the provider. This is something I like,
Hmm.
which is not working in, let's say, in our industry.
Hmm. And why do you think that is? Why do you think it doesn't work in our industry today? I mean, are there specific
Mhm.
sort of restrictions, drawbacks, or people or
Mhm.
companies are just not willing to to be monitored?
Uh, no. To be honest, financial industry is much more regulated than gambling industry. So you need to be compliant to much more, let's say, points, and much more things needs to be checked comparing to the gambling. Because in gambling you have to monitor two things: marketing and affiliates,
Hmm.
the communication,
Hmm.
and second thing is responsible gambling. So you need to eliminate all the, let's say, addicted to the gambling players.
Hmm.
So if someone will, let's say, write on the chat that I have a problem, I'm addicted, you have to block such player.
Sure.
So this is something which is working in gambling. In our side, if for example, I will issue a sub license to a white label and monitor, let's say, 30 companies, probably it will be a very risky one, because if at least one white label will do something weird which I don't notice, I will lose a license for all of them. Yes, so
Hmm.
I believe it is this model is much harder to implement in our industry, as it is much harder to get compliant with all these laws of a particular country.
Yeah, that makes sense. Michal, I wanted to also ask about last year's situation with MetaQuotes, because it seems it pretty much stirred up the whole FX and CFD industry. It's kind of like with one decision, Apple practically turned the market of trading platforms in our industry upside down. Um, I guess I wanted to know your personal opinion on what happened, and what do you think was the reason for for ultimately this decision that came down last year.
Yeah, it's funny because today we saw that Apple restored MT4 and MT5, so it means probably MetaQuotes finally got compliant with all the requirements from Apple side,
Uh huh.
and they agreed that the MT4, MT5 is again available to all users. To be honest, I remember I think it was Saturday when we found out that MT4, MT5 was blocked, and I read an article then that with the gossips that it was because of the Russian sanctions.
Uh huh.
That MetaQuotes is a Russian company, that's why it's blocked. And later on, I read a second news that Google will probably do the same, and this is end of MetaQuotes. And to be honest, I from very beginning I knew that it was not true. Uh, the problem was that MetaQuotes has all brokers on in one app. Yes,
Hmm.
so all the big brokers and all the small shady brokers are in the same app, and all the traders are able to put a complaint through App Store directly to Apple. To be honest, and as an Apple, you don't understand our industry a lot, and when you receive so many complaints, and you see that something is wrong with this app, and they don't understand there are thousands of brokers behind this app, and the size of this app is significant. That's why you have so many claims. And probably before that, there was some kind of a triggering event which caused that Apple decided, okay, enough is enough, and we should ban this app. I think I read about some big scam in the United States which happened 2 weeks before that, so probably it was related, and the number of complaints from US citizens which came through App Store was quite significant. That's why Apple decided to block MT4, MT5. And if it's upside down, to be honest, I don't think it changed too much, as MetaQuotes has still a dominant position. I remember that, as I mentioned, I think it was Saturday. I remember I received 3 or 4 calls from brokers who wanted to have a server ready on Monday.
Wow.
Our server match trader ready on Monday to start migrating. And I knew, I knew from the very beginning that it was impossible, and the probably on Monday the conversation will be totally different. And yeah, after 1 or 2 weeks, I saw that everyone calmed down, and they saw that they have more time for a decision. They don't have to buy the platform so quickly, so they started checking the options. And I had a lot of presentation of our system after Apple, and finally I saw that some of the brokers decided to build their own app, their own platform.
Hmm.
Some of them took, let's say, alternative solutions, and some decided not to do anything because they saw that outflow of the new clients is not that big, as all the existing clients could still trade. And very soon, MetaQuotes also released the web trader as kind of an alternative way of logging to the platform. So this is something which for sure helped MetaQuotes not to calm down and not to resign from MT4 MT5. And the case is, I believe that now the brokers will look on the platforms a bit different way, because for example, we see that everyone currently is working on the apps which are available outside of the stores. C-Trader is probably doing it. MetaQuotes is doing it. We already had it as we built a match trader in progressive web app technology, which can be distributed outside of the stores. But I think it will be the trend, and so everyone would like to be a bit independent from such moves from Apple side or Google side. Because for example, on in gambling industry, which I mentioned, Google is banning all the gambling apps and Apple has all of them. Yes, so it's totally opposite. In our
Hmm.
industry, Apple is much more strict than Google regarding accepting the new apps to the App Store. But I'm not sure if you are familiar that with the next version of iOS, the European Union forced Apple to allow distribution of apps outside of the App Store. Yes,
Hmm.
because Google had it already, but it was impossible with the Apple. But right now, I think European Union forced them to do it. I'm not sure if it will be available only in European Union or also in other countries,
Hmm.
but I know this is the kind of a trend, and probably the distribution will be easier.
Hmm. That's thanks for going into detail on that whole situation. I think maybe you agree. From my perspective, there was a bit of obviously a bit of rush to judgment, like you said. In terms of what actually happened and what are the implications of what happened in terms of Meta being removed from the App Store. Then, but I think people kind of cleared their head after a while and also understood that, for example, you have to look at the regions that brokerages are operating in, right? And if we look at developing countries, we can argue that Android devices which run Google are a lot more popular or present in those regions than, let's say, iOS devices, right? Because of cost and other things.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like, well, it really depends on each individual broker's needs, because if they are operating in regions where iOS devices are a significant share of their client
Hmm.
base, then yes, this has a material impact. And if they are not, then perhaps it doesn't make sense to rush to find a new solution and
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
that.
Basically,
Hmm.
I agree, because Apple has around 30% of the market share, but as we all know, iPhone is quite expensive smartphone, and I assume that average deposit of iPhone user is a bit above average comparing to the Android user. So okay, it is 30% of the market share, but probably around 50% of total deposits. I would
Hmm.
this is just my
Hmm.
guess on quick assumption.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to mention also is, I've seen Apple being very, very strict in terms of monetizing apps that are in the App Store, right? So they have certain
Hmm.
requirements for app developers that publish apps. And you had mentioned with respect to Google and Apple, the difference in the gambling industry is that Apple is very welcoming of gambling apps, whereas Google seems not to be. And I think perhaps this is actually a commercial decision, in that Apple charges a percentage of whatever's sold through an app that is on the located in the App
Hmm.
Store, whereas is there anything that Apple can charge MetaQuotes for having the app in the App Store? Likely not, because as far as I remember, there's no in-app purchases inside the iOS version of MetaTrader, right?
Yeah, but I think, yeah, I agree, but I think it is the same in gambling. This charging, it's related to the games and purchases in the app.
Yeah,
Deposits to the gambling companies or to the forex companies. I think it is out of this
yeah.
policy. So let's say Apple doesn't earn on gambling companies on forex. So you know this is why also you can understand Apple. You have so many problems with an app on which you don't earn a single penny. Yes, so this is why to keep it. Yes,
Hmm.
but as an Apple, you are you cannot only think about the profits, because when so much people are using your store and there is no other option to download the app from outside, you cannot just block an app. Okay, you can contact them to you can try to uh, settle the issue, or clarify the issue why there are so many complaints, etc. But blocking it without any notification, this is quite weird, and shouldn't happen.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Michal, you had mentioned, in terms of what may have led uh, to Apple dropping MetaQuotes out of the App Store. There was, I think everyone in the industry knows that there were some white labels that MetaTrader had that could be deemed shady, and other things. You also
Hmm.
mentioned there was something in the news, and this happens quite often in the United States. The SEC and other regulators, they uncover pretty significant like crypto scams and things like that. So
Hmm.
perhaps there was something that came to light where customers who may have been scammed or lost their deposits, again, they were complaining
Hmm.
to directly to Apple, in the comment section of the App Store. I
Hmm.
want to ask about MetaTrader white labels themselves. Do you think that, in your opinion, uh, because there may have been shady companies that were using white labels, is that why MetaQuotes stopped
Hmm.
providing white labels? And do you think that MetaQuotes will actually resume white labels, or issuing white labels in the future, especially considering the restrictions in St. Vincent that were just
Hmm.
announced and are
Hmm.
now sort of going through?
Okay, so I think that white labels were stopped just after Apple, but to be honest, MetaQuotes made the KYC almost impossible to pass to small
Hmm.
brokers, as they started requiring the bank account confirmation. I think it was half a year before they stopped selling white labels. So, for example, approving of one white label on our side from 4 or 5 days increased to 2 3 months. Yes,
Hmm.
so I believe that white labels were stopped even before they officially stopped it. Yes, because we couldn't pass any white label through the KYC process. So I believe the problems were already there. I believe that number of the problems MetaQuotes face from regulatory side, and I don't know, probably police or someone, they received a lot of questions, a lot of claims directly from the traders, so they decided that this is the time to do something with it. To be honest, I don't believe that this is only case of a white labels, because the goods, the biggest scams were not done only on white labels, because with the white label, to be honest, at least on our servers, when we offer the white labels, we didn't give the, let's say, all the rights to the white labels. So for example, changing the price, changing the side of the, deleting the trades, etc., are not possible on a white label, for example, when we provide it. So the big scams, usually the biggest ones were doing it on the servers. Yes, so because first of all, when you are doing a big scam, you have money, so you can afford a server, and you require all the rights from the admin side to do whatever you want on the servers. So I don't believe this is related only to the white labels. It is related to both. However, the number of white labels is much bigger, but usually the scams were smaller on the white label
Hmm.
side. Also, on the other hand, I don't believe the problem were only scams, because okay, because from my point of view, the scam is someone who intentionally, open a brokerage to escape with to do the exit scam, to take money and disappear. A lot of let's say defaulted brokers. Uh, it was caused by bad risk management. I see a lot of brokers coming into the market with the budget of, let's say, $20,000 or $30,000. How you are able to manage the risk with budget of $20,000, $30,000, and all of them are greedy and want to put everything, put all the eggs into one basket and see maybe the market will allow me to book everything and I will earn a lot of money. And the majority of them just don't have luck, and they have to disappear.
Hmm.
So first of all, this is greed from their side, because they want to get rich very quickly. They didn't come intentionally to escape with the money, but they didn't have enough experience to manage the risk. They didn't have enough budget, lack of understanding how to hedge the exposures. And this is something on which we now work quite heavily with our dealing department to give them the proper education manuals, how to hedge the risk, to avoid such situation, not to take too big exposure, because you are not able to do so. For example, again, comparing to the gambling industry, when I spoke with some providers in that industry, they mentioned to me they block the sizes of the bets for beginners, for the startup casino startup sports booking companies. Something similar should happen on our side. We should, as an industry, as a providers, probably we should somehow educate them, limit them, tell them, hey, you have $30,000 as a budget. You are not able to accept a risk over $300 on the account. Yes, because otherwise you won't be able to pay back the trader. And we, as a providers, we should do it. And this is what we currently are doing on our side, because this is something which brings the bad publicity and bad reputation to our industry. And for example, this is exactly what happened, as you mentioned, that this happened in the United States, but it happens all around the world. And for example, when you say that you are working in forex in Poland, you are seen as someone who is doing shady stuff. So this is why I also against, and I'm trying to fight with all those guys who are coming and then want to disappear with the money. So we also, on MTR, we also increase the KYC procedure and tighten it to avoid such situation, with fake IDs, fake guys coming in and trying to collect money and
I
escape.
see.
Uh, Also, I believe the motivation behind stop selling white labels is, I think that MetaQuotes seen that everyone is earning on MT4, MT5 except them, because they were charging 2,000 for many years. They were charging 2,000 for a white label and 2,000 for a server, while the brokers were earning millions. So now they increase a bit they later on increased the pricing for white labels. They changed the pricing for the service from the license fee up to monthly fee, where there's 10,000 they started charging per users. So this is something I also believe that now the motivation of stop selling white labels is to move a bit. This is just a business decision, which is a bit, it's quite rational,
Hmm.
to move the clients to the more expensive product when you don't have a choice. because white labels are no more available, and you want to have an MT4, MT5, MT5 right now because MT4 is not available anymore.
Hmm.
But if you want to have a server and you want to have an MT5, you need to take a server. Yes, you need to buy a license from them, as there is no other alternatives. And the cheapest one is 7.5, and very quickly you need to upgrade it to 10K a month. Yes, so uh, 2000 2 years 3 years ago, and 10,000 right now. It's a quite huge increase of the fees which we are able to charge.
Hmm.
You also asked me about if they will resume white labels. To be honest, I believe they will, because it was the huge part of their profits. Mm, I would be surprised if they don't, because I believe I was one of the top 10 companies with the biggest invoices at MetaQuotes,
Hmm.
and I saw the numbers, and I believe that they will resume it. However, not sure how. I believe that the first step would be that they will leave old KYC, where bank account would still need to be there, and it will be almost impossible to pass for the small SVG brokers.
Hmm.
And later on, in the second stage, when everything will calm down, they will a bit lose the KYC requirements to onboard more white label. So I believe that next year, same time next year, MT5 white labels, at least MT5, I'm not sure about MT4, will be available again.
Hmm. And go ahead. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, yeah, because I think you also asked me about the SVG, yes, about the SVG restriction,
Well,
right?
that's actually part of one of my next questions, and just more broadly about regulations to kind of
Huh?
get
Mhm.
your sense of things. But right now, as we're speaking about the so-called white label issues, I mean, you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier that obviously this whole situation opened new prospects for your company because of the solutions that you guys built before any of this came about, and we just sort of perused or speculated about whether or not MetaQuotes will resume white labels and in what shape or form. I was going to ask, because you have had discussions with potential clients. I'm sure some clients signed up with you as a result. Aren't you afraid of sort of losing some of these prospects if and when Meta
Mhm.
resumes, like MT5, let's say, white labels? Or because you've had negotiations, interactions with industry players, again, who are just
Mhm.
reaching out to say, hey, what do you have? What do you have to offer,
Mhm.
right? Whether or not they want to switch or not. Um, Kind of, what's your perception in terms of your competitive landscape
Mhm.
going forward? And also interesting on the pricing front, because as you mentioned, as far as I understood, if I understood correctly, you have a pretty competitive pricing model right now, right? As it compares to everyone else.
Yeah, basically, this is quite funny question. As I remember, 2 3 years ago, we have this yearly plannings with the board in the company,
Hmm.
and we put down the, let's say, the major risks for the company, and I checked it, and we wrote down that MetaQuotes will stop offering white labels. This was one of the major risks for our company, as white labels were a significant part of our revenue.
Hmm.
Now you are asking me if I'm afraid if they will resume it. So if I resume the salary, so it's totally opposite, and you can see how dynamic the situation is in our company. But I remember we were afraid of it. Right now we are not so afraid of stopping white labels and resuming them. Why? You know, situation with MetaQuotes helped us a lot, to be honest, because in one day the brand awareness of our company increased significantly, because everyone knew suddenly that we have the platform, the trading platform. It was quite new product for as a server license, so suddenly I received a lot of requests for the platform. So if I was speaking with marketing after all, if I would need to spend, I need to create a marketing budget to bring so much attention to our platform, it would be crazy numbers. So it was done for free for us, so it helped, yes. And the situation with white labels deals with the apples, brought us a lot of clients, a lot of new potentials. Even if some of them didn't take the platform finally, but they saw it. They were on presentation with our sales team. So yeah, it's helped a lot. Maybe one day they will come back and decide to take match trader. Um, if I'm afraid, to be honest, I'm not that afraid because match trader proved itself so far.
Hmm.
So we now there is a situation with SVG, and there is a deadline for SVG companies, and a lot of white labels are a bit afraid of it, and what MetaQuotes will do, and decided to migrate to our platform some time ago, and we see very positive feedback on of them, because if they would if they wouldn't be forced to migrate to match trade
Hmm.
because of this threat, to match trader because of this threat, probably they would never do it. And but as they were forced and they see it how it works, and they see the feedback from the clients, I think that we are at a good situation right now with our own platform.
Hmm.
But even if MetaQuotes, which I think it will happen, they will resume selling white values. We still have, servers of MT4. I have servers MT5, so probably I will still offer MT4, MT5 white labels if they will be resumed, because this is the still the most popular platform, and everyone wants to use it. Even brokers who are using other platform alternatives like a C Trader and others, they also have MT4, MT5 next to it, and probably the majority of the volume is done on MT4, MT5. I think I saw somewhere that 85 MetaTrader has currently MT5% of the market share. So you have to sell MT4, MT5 white labels when they are if they are available.
Hmm.
Yes, otherwise you will be out of the white label market.
Hmm. Yeah, makes definitely makes a lot of sense. And you touched upon SVG, Saint Vincent. Obviously, we know that brokers
Mhm,
have been given a deadline, which again, I personally think that deadline is going to be extended because, first of all, there are hundreds and hundreds of companies registered in Saint Vincent over the years, and also. Obviously, the registrars and the "quote unquote" regulator in
mhm,
Saint Vincent kind of has their hands tied in terms of enforcement. I mean, there's not really much that they could physically do to companies. Yes, sure, they can annul their registration and things like that, but in terms of any kind of other enforcement, it seems to
mhm,
me that's kind of lax. I wanted to ask again in relation to what we've spoken about. We said that if for example, if meta white labels already had more stringent KYC and approval instructions. Match Trader or match trade has its own. Obviously, you guys have your own requirements. It seems to me like, for me personally, okay, so SVG is now not a viable offshore entity anymore. We know for a fact that there are companies moving from SVG to another island, very very pretty close in the same region, right? um, Everybody who's going to listen will probably know what we're talking about. But my impression is that today it does not make sense to just hop from one island to the other anymore. Ultimately, technology providers and market making providers will ultimately only open accounts, and provide licenses and servers to companies that have at least some sort of minimum baseline of
mhm, mhm,
regulation, whether that is like Seychelles, Mauritius, or some of these other jurisdictions. Vanuatu is very popular these days. Do you think that that is going to be the case going forward in the next few years? Um, or do you think that there will still be options out there where the brokers who are in a completely offshore jurisdiction will still be able to find, technology?
Um, how to say it? From my point of view, I believe that regulation is needed on different levels. Of course, we have CySEC and the European regulations, which is very strict and the highest standards. We have Mauritius, Seychelles, Vanuatu, which is now also upgraded their requirements. And we have such licenses like Comoros or San Vincent, which is not even a license, as the company, the countries which allowed doing forex without even a license. So, from my point of view, what is needed is, I think that even the smallest company should be regulated somehow. However, I don't believe it will happen because there are so many jurisdictions which still allow doing forex without any checks and about any license.
Hmm.
However, I believe that going, let's say, everyone in FX industry started somewhere, and uh, if you don't have an investor behind the company who is able to afford the license and compliance team and being compliant from the very beginning, you need to start somewhere. And if the entry barrier is too expensive and too high, uh, small companies doesn't have a chance. So I believe you should be regulated in a way that it represents the size of your
Hmm.
company. So, for example, if you are small and your revenues are up to, I don't know, 1 million, you should pass, let's say, this level of regulation, which is quite cheap, quite easy, and of course it is checked, but you don't have to be compliant with too many things. And as soon as you grow, you need to pass more and more requirements. This will allow the industry to still develop and bring new interesting companies and ambitious people to the industry, and but it won't allow two shady brokers working because they would need to report to some authority. Of course, this is, let's say, the ideal situation. I don't believe it will happen, as we still there are too many jurisdiction in which you can open a company and get a platform and then start onboarding clients. Yes,
Hmm.
but regarding the San Vincent situation, when I found out about it, I was quite curious about the reasons behind it. Why it happened, because this is the small island which main probably incomes were from these shells companies and the fees related to it. So probably they were forced, I don't know by who, to implement it, either US or European Union, because someone had to put a pressure on them. And the requirement they implemented are a bit, how to say it, impossible to meet, and then in some cases illogical, because when someone, an SVG, requires from you to get a license in a country which you target. So if you have this license, you don't need a SVG company for it. Yes. So, for example, if you want to target, I don't know, European Union, you need to have a license in Cyprus. So why do you need to have a San Vincent company? Yes. So this is quite weird requirement, I would say. Also, on the other hand, they gave, I think, 45 days to be compliant with this requirement. So nobody, even if you would like to be compliant with it and, let's say, get some kind of license, you are not able to get it in 45 days. So
Hmm.
this, I think, this move was designed to just clear a bit the house and remove all these companies. However, there are still some doubts about those requirements, because I'm not sure if you saw this FAQ released by the authority from San Vincent.
Hmm.
They mentioned that the forex is not allowed anymore. And in FAQ, they someone asked about CFDs, and they mentioned that only CFDs for forex are not allowed. What about other
Right.
CFDs? What about CFDs for indices, for other instruments? So those are allowed. I think this is just they are a bit random, bit as I said, illogical, and let's see what will happen.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think there's different ways of going about the question of SVG. I think it's perhaps it's a combination of many different things. Like you said, barriers to entry, right? There are barriers to
Mm.
entry for very, very small brokers who are just starting out, who cannot afford even the compliance costs, the overhead costs of being compliant in even a small island jurisdiction, and perhaps they're going to SVG. For sure, there are also scams that went to SVG. They opened up companies in SVG knowing that there would
Of
not be
course, this
any
is
compliance, there would not be anybody checking and things like that. And to your point, just like with MetaQuotes and Apple, I think it's just they accumulated so many complaints from traders who were using companies that were registered in SVG, and those complaints probably went, like you said, to big regulators, maybe in the United States, in the UK, Australia, Cyprus, and those regulators are the ones who said, "Okay, we have to talk to this jurisdiction. We have to make sure that
but
something
I
happens."
believe they had to be threatened somehow, either from US by cutting off, being cut off
Swift,
from Swift,
perhaps.
or by European Union, by because I think that the European Union helped them in many cases during the COVID, and also they had some issue with the volcano eruption, and they had a lot of aid from there. So
Mhm.
I believe they might be some, let's say, instruments, tools to put the pressure on St. Vincent to do it, because by themselves, to be honest, they wouldn't do it by themselves. This is my
No,
opinion.
I agree.
As
Yeah,
that. Mm,
yeah.
mm.
There's no way that why would they do this when it's a source of revenue for registration fees? Michal, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that quite a few employees in the match trade group of companies are actually people who came from the retail side. Like you said, you came from
Mhm.
XTB. And I wanted to ask, in my impression, I also come from the retail side of things in industry. My impression is that a few years ago, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, best execution was a very, very hot topic amongst traders, and
Mhm.
amongst also providers, brokers, platform
Mhm.
providers, liquidity providers. It seems to me that today, if we look at the retail offerings that are out there from the major brokers, um, everybody is more or less, I would say, arguably more or less in line in terms of pricing, and the pricing that traders get and the execution quality that traders get. It seems to me things are sort of progressing now on the trader side into more focus into like high frequency trading, algorithmic trading, with the rise of artificial intelligence and things like that. And also, let's say, automated trading solutions. It seems to me that this is one of the things that traders are asking for of their brokers today. I wanted to ask, from your side and your cooperation with your clients and speaking to your colleagues within the company, is this something that you are also seeing, or are there other trends that we should be mindful of today in terms of kind of the most important trends in retail for 2023?
hmm to be honest, we had to make a business decision about adding the option for the traders to add an EAs to our new platform, and we do it a small check on current white labels on MT4, MT5, how actively they use EAs. And I remember that we were surprised that EAs are not that popular on our white labels anymore. So, for example, I remember that it was around 3% of the total volume
Hmm.
done through the EAs on MT4. On MT5, it was even less. Yes, so to be honest, I don't agree that this algo trading is that popular still. I remember it was very popular in the past, when even I wrote I got a bachelor degree, and I was written I wrote my paper about moving averages and testing the efficiency of moving averages on FX markets, and I used EAs to test those strategies, and at that time it was, I think, 2010. So it was really popular. Then I was attending the courses how to use MQL4, and then how to write very effective algorithms. But right now the times changed, and right now everyone has a mobile phone,
Hmm.
a smartphone. Yes, so we are able to check the market all the time, because in the past the main advantage of using algos was it will trade when you are not at home and you don't see the market. Yes, and you use some old Nokia or BlackBerry, and you couldn't trade from on MT4 or MT5 there. So that's why algos were very popular. Right now, when you have the very fast internet, you have the smartphone, you can check it everywhere, and you can place a trade. This is one reason why they are not that popular anymore, I believe. I think also a second reason, we see also the difference between MT4 and MT5. So okay, in MT4, when the MQL4 was the first language MetaQuotes implemented, and there was huge ecosystem around it. A lot of developers was writing some EAs. There was a lot of ready-made EAs which you were able to download, and even with open source, you can adjust it a bit with your own parameters. Even on MQL4 5. There was much less of it, and we also we saw it on our white labels that much less MT5 brokers are based on EAs. And even I believe it was some time ago where MetaQuotes made some kind of a promotion of migrating from MT4 to MT5, and we tried to convince some of the brokers to move from MT4 to MT5, as it was much easier to manage them on MT5, as MT5 is much more flexible on administrator side. They didn't want to do it because of the EAs. I mean, those who used the EAs, yes, because they were afraid that traders wouldn't like to rewrite their EAs, yes. So also, I believe this is a second reason why EAs are not that popular. And the third reason I think which caused that we didn't implement algo trading in our platform. Okay, we have an API, but this is, let's say, much harder to use it comparing to EAs. But why we didn't implement it? The abusers the traders who are abusing the trading conditions are using EAs mostly. Yes, so latency arbitrageurs who take advantage of, let's say, a slower feed because they had a connection next to very close to the exchange, and they abuse the brokers who has a bit slower connection. It was done through the EAs. Yes, also the taking advantage of the bad ticks which appeared on the broker side, it was done by the EAs. Yes, so uh, you are getting just 3% of the flow while you risk a lot of losses on abusers. Yes, so from my point of view and from the business decision, it was easy decision to make, not to implement it, not to bring the more programs to the brokers. But let's say also I believe that new generation is a bit more lazy, and a bit more lazy, and they have they prefer tools which are ready made. I mean, for example, copy trading, social trading, where they can easily follow the signals and just copy a trade. This is something which they are much more interested in. Maybe when regarding EAs, maybe when there will be a tools which will easily allow the new users, traders create the EAs or the algos by using drag and drop of some rules, and it will automatically trade then, or maybe even creating an algos using AI, like you mentioned, maybe using Chat GPT or whatever, which will allow them to easily write the rules which they want to implement to their strategies, and such AI will prepare the whole code which way they will be able to implement. This is maybe a solution which make EAs popular again.
Hmm. Very, very interesting insights, Michal. Thank you. You mentioned, today everybody's mobile, right? And that's definitely the case. Obviously, every retail trader, I think, these days is expecting that their broker will have, let's say, maybe a desktop version, a web version, and absolutely must have a mobile version. Now, I don't want to rehash everything we spoke about earlier about MetaQuotes and things like that. But in terms of like mobile solutions, do you think that the
Hmm.
platform provider space is going to get more fragmented over, in the next few years? In the sense that, we already have MetaQuotes for a desktop slash web solution and mobile solution. Um, Perhaps the
Hmm.
platform space might get more fragmented because more companies, more fintech companies will come into the space to again try to capitalize more on the mobile trading side of things.
Hmm. Uh, so regarding the new platforms, after the problems of MetaQuotes, yes, we see a lot of new platforms coming into the market. However, most of them are just front end apps. So this is you know apps which worked in the past on MT4, MT5. MetaQuotes doesn't like if someone is selling apps built on their own backend.
Hmm.
So I don't believe that such solution will, because for example, broker develop it for its own purposes and now they want to sell it. So this is something which won't work, and it is not a scalable solution, because if they will be popular, MetaQuotes will probably contact them one day. Hey, we have a mobile, and this is a competition, direct competition to our solution. Please don't use it on our backend, which is quite understandable move from their side. So I believe that okay, they will appear on the market, but after 1-2 years they will disappear because the problems with the backend and lack of the backend. Yes,
Hmm.
so I believe that the platforms who will survive will be those with the backends, or will have the cooperations with backend platforms. So for example, with us, yes, if someone will come to us, hey, I have a front end, would like to connect it to your backend and replace your match trader. uh, this is, let's say, in this model it could work, yes, but if they don't develop a backend in the long term, they will have a problem. Okay, there is a trading view which is only a front end, but they also face some problems with meta quotes, and we know that meta quotes didn't like that trading view is getting so popular on their platform. So that's why TradingView is started cooperating with different providers who has a backend to a bit uh, diversified and mitigate the risk of having one backend integrated. So they are talking with many providers to implement it. So I think that the one with the backend will survive. And regarding the mobile, yes, the mobile is, this is the saying we have here: mobile is the new king. And when you check the reports of the brokers who are on public ones, like XTB, for example, you see that the volumes and the number of users is already much higher on mobile than on, for example, web. Yes, because this is natural. I guess now you can do everything from your mobile. Apps are very advanced. You can deposit from there, you can do the KYC from there, you can trade, you can draw the indicators on the chart. So I believe, yes, this is the mobile will take over, and it will be probably 70% very soon of overall volume done through mobile.
Hmm.
And we see it also in gambling. In gambling is exactly even probably more, as gambling, everyone is using the mobile for gambling. Maybe not for casino, but for the sports betting. Yes, it is used much more popular on mobile. And regarding fragmentation, I believe that regarding white labels, yes, market will be more fragmented. Why? Because MetaQuotes still doesn't sell white labels, and if they will resume it, probably it will be with the very strict KYC. So I believe that providers like a C trader, like us, okay, we have the strict KYC, but not that strict. Yes, so probably they will pass our KYC or C trader KYC, or I don't know, someone else KYC, because I know that few other platforms appear, like I don't know, Vertex, who has their own platform and released recently. Probably they will pass their KYC. So regarding white labels, I believe that the market will be much more fragmented.
Hmm.
However, regarding big brokers, I believe that brokers will start adding a backup platform, not replace MT4, MT5, because it would be suicide, but they will add a backup one in case of the problems, and maybe they will start promoting it simultaneously to maybe a bit diversify the flow of the clients.
Hmm.
Yes, I remember we did it in XTB when I was there. We started developing on an X station, which was XTB platform, and in the beginning we had both offers available for the clients, and uh, you know few years ago XTB totally dropped MT4, and all the clients are moved to their own platform.
Hmm.
So for example, uh, this is let's say the transition which probably some brokers might pass. So if someone will decide to develop their own platform and take, let's say, alternative one, they will probably start selling it simultaneously to see the feedback and a bit diversify the flow of the client.
Hmm.
So I believe that still majority of the flow will be on MT4, MT5, and it will have dominant position for much longer time than we all
Hmm.
expect.
Great. That's thank you for those. Thank you for those insights. I completely agree with you with respect to, brokers having to find basically a backup solution, and then you can cross sell it to all your customers and see. Um, and it's 2023, obviously. So from a technology standpoint, there are a lot more capabilities from the back end side of things. You know more about this than I do. In terms of like the coding and the development and everything else than there was 10, 15 years ago. I remember when I was working at a US brokerage, there was an idea of doing this, but it could not be done technologically because so much money was already spent on a proprietary trading platform, which didn't have the backend capabilities to tie into a meta server. You know what I mean? Into a meta server. So,
Hmm.
so meta clients could not be possibly migrated at that time. Into like a prop trading platform, but those kind of nuances,
Hmm.
Michal, those kind of nuances are for another discussion on another podcast. We'll do it next time. To finish things off, I wanted to ask, what kind of developments can our listeners look forward to in terms of new things coming out of Match Prime, Match Trade, Match to Pay, and in the next few months, maybe not March, but like in the summer months or later on down the road, are there any events that you want to mention where you guys will be in full force? So to say, or with the team, where our listeners can come meet you guys and find out more about your products and services.
Hmm. Uh, regarding the developments, the whole situation with the platform pushed us very hardly to work on the developments, on the new features, as we see that, for example, C Trader, MetaQuotes started releasing new features, new add-ons to the platform, and also I have to do this on our side. So for example, right now we are working very heavily on social trading, as we see this part is growing on our side, and brokers are interested in it. As we discussed in the previous question, that we see it much more popular solution than EAs, for example. And regarding match trader, we also work to bring more reputable brokers on board than the regulated ones, which will have promote the platform, and it will be more popular among the bigger brokers, because this is also how we communicate the platform, because many brokers, many market participants think that our platform was just created. This is a new platform, fresh one, and we are working on it from 2013, because it's still based on the same matching engine, and it was used for institutional purposes. We just changed the layout of the front end to be more friendly, user friendly for the retail traders, and a few adjustment on the backend side to remove, for example, first in first out rule. But the platform is very tested and prove itself. So this is on which we on the this is a thing which on which we will work next months. Also, probably you noticed that we pushed much more resource. We added more resources to the match to pay. We even hired recently the team on Ukraine of developers just only for this project to speed up the development process. And we are going outside of FX industry to the gambling expos, as regarding the payment and accepting crypto is very similar. And also we are getting ready for MiCA regulation, which probably will change industry. So our team is already analyzing the changes, and how we can take advantage of them, and what we can offer to the clients. As probably you can be either the first or the best. We try to be both,
Hmm.
yes, and we ready with the
Hmm.
product. And regarding the expos, we are going to new places this year. We are going to Mexico in May. This is the same organizers which are doing the expo in Dubai. So hopefully it will be a good one.
Hmm.
And Finance Magnates South Africa Summit, which is also a new one.
Yeah.
It's also a very interesting direction regarding our industry. South Africa is a very popular jurisdiction among brokers, and the license is respected. However, they were recently put on the FAT list, but hopefully it won't have any impact on the quality of the
Yeah.
expo. And as I mentioned, the gambling
Uh-huh.
ones. We are going to now Dubai, Brazil. So Brazil, it will be in July. So also due to the fact that we added so many expos to our schedule, we also hired, probably you saw, a Sonata who will be coordinating everything, as it is too many of them, and even ordering a booth, designs and everything takes a lot of time.
Yes, I know. I know all about this stuff, Michal. Yes, I know. Well, listen, it sounds awesome. It sounds great. New beginnings, new countries, a new, a different side of uh, the trading industry, gambling, gambling, trading, things like that. So it all sounds very exciting. I wanted to wrap things up. I think we're out of time. This was a lengthy but very interesting and insightful discussion. So I wanted to thank you for taking the time to speak in detail on some of these topics, which I think are quite important for both you and I, and for other people in the industry. And hopefully we can catch up sometime, maybe close to the end of 2023. You will have been at all of these different events, especially on the gambling side. I would be very interested to speak with you, like at the end of the year, to find out sort of your kind of impressions of what you know so far, and what are the good things that are being done, or the things that are being done right in the gambling industry that could actually be applied to ours, like you said, from a reputation standpoint, and things like that to improve things, which I think would be very interesting.
Thank you once again for inviting me. It was really nice talk. Probably there are much more topics to be covered, but it can be done next time.
Yes. Thank you very much, Michal.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to our latest Finance Feeds podcast episode. For sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest, please email us at info@financefeeds.com.